and gentlemen, if you please rise, face the colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'm not sure where it came from. Well, I do know where it came from. Optical's help. So I guess we'll start the meetings now with we've everybody's here except Dave Leakley. He's on a cruise. Call to order, and we confirmed we put this out I think on Friday, so definitely okay with the time. I will accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 28th.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Carries. First report is the treasurer's report. And welcome back.
Thank you. So we are doing very well financially. We are doing very well financially, but before I start my report, which has always a lot of numbers, I just want to clarify, a timing difference to the budget means that an expense incurred in one month, but it was maybe budgeted in a different month. That creates a timing difference. We anticipate potentially a wash at some point in time. Savings in the budget actually come from, like, we have a contract, we didn't know what the amount of the contract was going to be, we budgeted, and we budgeted higher than what it actually came in. That creates savings over the year, so that's savings. When we overspend, we all know what that means, that, you know, we have a situation where we did not budget, didn't have all that information, and we're overspent. The good news is we don't have that situation, you know, this year except for one area. But I just wanted to explain that before I read my report, because that can get confusing. And today the Finance Committee is going to give you some good news on how we're doing, and I just wanted to help clarify some of those things. So in June, we generated net income of $37,109, ahead of plan by approximately $42,000. We are underspent this month to budget by $37,000. Most of this favorable spending variance is due to timing differences, except for access control expenses and general administrative expenses, where actual expenses for things like gate repair, camera repair, payroll, insurance, and legal fees are trending below plan this month. Halfway through our 2023 budget year, we have generated net income of $72,702, performing ahead of our year-to-date plan by approximately $82,000. This favorable is comprised of $23,000 favorable income variance and $59,000 favorable spending variance. The income variance is primarily attributable to interest income. Interest income was not budgeted in 2023. The favorable spending variance is being generated primarily by lower than anticipated general and administrative costs and access control costs, offset by higher than anticipated spending in the grounds expense category. Most variances are timing differences, but we should have actual savings in payroll, insurance, and possibly legal fees. The only line item we have overspent on 2023 is account 6630, lakes, ponds, and waterways. As of June 30th, we have spent $27,303 on an annual budget of $20,000. Given we have a monthly maintenance contract in this category of $15.25 per month, with no additional spending requests, we will exceed the budget by $16,453 for this line item. Our cash position continues to be strong, with approximately $4.1 million in operating cash funds and $1.3 million in our reserve cash funds. Finance Committee. Finance Committee has completed the LLPOA's financial policies and procedures at their committee meeting held on July 17th and have presented their proposed changes to the board for the review and consideration. As part of this review, the Finance Committee has proposed, and I concur, transferring the fund balance of $121,244 from account 2085, our contingency fund, to account number 2090, uncommitted projects fund, increasing the balance to $771,857. Retained earnings is the community's contingency fund, which will be maintained at a level consistent with our financial policy and procedures. The target level for our retained earnings per the policy is 10 to 15% of total budgeted expenses. The committee will begin working on the 2024 budget at their next meeting on August 7th. Restricted funds and retained earnings report. Our reserves increased by $32,969, increasing our reserve fund to a balance of $1,297,788. The increase was due to the monthly reserve allocation of $30,167 and an earned interest of $2,802. The 2021 surplus fund decreased by $5,291 this month, consistent with the 2023 monthly budget allocation, reducing the fund balance to $31,744. No other transactions impacted our restricted funds or retained earnings this month.
Very good.
So part of her report was to move a balance from a restricted fund to a different restricted fund. You should probably vote on that if you agree with that.
I was going to bring it up after the finance committee.
Okay, yeah, just some point if you guys actually want to
After
do
we
that.
review the accounting policies, actually.
Okay.
Can you explain to me why we did that?
So because
Or why you're thinking of doing that?
Because the contingency fund was set up for contingencies. We now have a retained earnings balance, which is consistent with what our accountants have suggested and also what our accounting guidelines. Really, our retained earnings is our contingency fund. It's just not saying contingency. That's what companies use in the event something happens. So we don't really need a separate contingency fund because we have retained earnings. And as long as we have the retained earnings within the specified amount, we should be okay, which is between 10 to 15% of our operating expense budget each year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great question.
Well, I'm asking because I'm sure that there's people in the audience that have no clue.
Yeah, great question, great question.
I have no clue.
So we'll make a move after the
Yeah, that's fine.
accounting
Yeah, we'll do it at some
policy.
point today.
Right.
So for my end of the reporting, I want to give everybody a quick update on the building. Last week, we took the drawings that the board had approved, and I met with Powell and reviewed those over the basically over Zoom, and we went through all the different changes. They're in the process of making the revisions, and they will send us back a clean set of drawings that we are hoping to have a town hall for next week. We just need to get those back, and then I'll get that scheduled and notify the residents when we'll be reviewing those. And the goal for that meeting will be to have the residents look at the latest set of drawings and provide feedback for the board and the building committee. Maintenance items, the maintenance team did 46 maintenance work orders this last month, and they're currently working on 9 open orders. Channel 16, we've done everything on our end to transfer that. What's happened is there's a piece of equipment that is not transferring the audio from smart communities through the optical tel channel. So they've figured out what the problem is, and they have the part on order, and as soon as that comes in, they'll have that replaced, and then channel 16 will have audio again, and will be fully running, and then we'll start the program that we had planned to play on there. This week, Yellowstone was working on the first quarter invasives. They have all but one section done, so they'll have that done by the end of this week. In the back parking lot, they planted several juniper starter plants to grow in the bare areas that were all over the parking lot, so that should look good here pretty soon. Tennis courts resurfacing, they're working on that this week. Hopefully that will be done by the end of the week, if the weather plays along. If not, it might go a little bit into the first part of next week. And even when they're finished, we will probably have the courts closed for a day or so to let that cure, and then we'll let everybody know when that's ready to be, when the surface is ready to be played on again. A couple weeks ago, wetlands invasive treatment was done by Lake Pros. They came in and serviced the different wetland areas that they treat for primrose, willow, and Kogan grass and different invasives. The pickleball windscreens, those will be replaced as soon as the tennis courts are completed. Hopefully that will be by the end of this week. And then the second quarter invasive removal, hopefully the board will be approving that at today's meeting, and they'll start that the second week of August. And then phase 4, The RFP, the engineers are still working on that, and again, hopefully we'll have that ready to go for bid in a couple of months. That's all I got.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Well, President's report. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a wonderful community that has rules and regulations. And that's why we moved here. Because really, as much as we loved our neighbor's 57 Chevy, we didn't want him working on his front yard on it, or in his front yard on it. So, some things I just want to mention because it seems like I've been getting phone calls. Dogs on leashes. Ladies and gentlemen, our pets belong on leashes. Why is that? Well, we don't want to provide a meal for our wildlife, as has happened in the past on occasion. Also, dogs are very friendly. And if they see you come out across the street, sometimes they'll come across the street to greet you, and that's okay. But then they get hit by a golf cart or a car, and then everybody feels bad. So there's a reason why you're supposed to have your dogs on the leash. The other thing is, a dog will not do number 2 in its own yard if it can help it. It'll go to somebody else's yard. And that's what dogs do. I know, I like dogs, they go somewhere else. So that's why you have your dog on a leash, and be sure you pick up after your dog. There's some folks that, well, I'll go walk the dog on the trail. Now I don't have to pick up after it. Yeah, you still do. So please, be a good neighbor. Also, it seems like we've been getting some calls about people using the pool. This is a wonderful time of year, summertime. The kids come down, the grandkids, the great-grandkids come down. But if they're in a diaper, they don't belong in the pool. There's a reason for that. And if it's a weekend and somebody comes up to you and says, you know, really, your 6-month-old shouldn't be in the pool, please take them out of the pool. They shouldn't be there to begin with. Be responsible. Last but not least, it is summertime, so be careful about the speed on the roads. It seems like everybody's doing a fairly decent job of that. But please, just watch your speed. 25 is the max speed. I know sometimes when I'm late for a board meeting, I probably drive 26 miles an hour. Oh, I'll just pick up the whole thing. You know, I don't like this. I'm too far away from everybody. And everybody here is going, what in the heck is that crazy idiot doing now? Well, I want to be a little bit closer so they can see me at home. A little bit closer. Yeah. And so you can see me, because there are some other things. These people behind me right here, believe it or not, are just like you. They have a life. They have issues. They have medical issues. They have life issues. But yet still they're giving up of their time to help our community. The same way as some of you out here are on committees and spending years on some of these committees to do things. Why do they do it? Well, because they love their community, that's why. But I just want to remind people that, yeah, I'll take your phone call if I'm home, or I'll call you back, or I'll answer your email. But understand, we do have a life, and we're working hard to make sure that this community is a little bit better. So thank you very much to all the people behind me that make me look really great. Second thing, speaking of which, time is coming later on this year, beginning of next year, where we're going to have 3 openings on the board of directors. So we need some new residents to step up to the board of directors. Third thing, you heard a little bit about the update on the building and renovation group. The building committee, and I see Ray back there, they have been listening. The board has been talking to people. We have been going over to the craft room. I think we talked to everybody who does things in the craft room in the morning specifically. We had a meeting yesterday afternoon, which was very, very productive, about people that use this building. So what you're going to see next week, hopefully, at the town hall will be the first set that we may have to do some tweaking, but hopefully we can tweak send it back, and the second set would be just perfect. So, and I thank everybody who has helped with this, especially the building committee. They've been doing this for 4 years. I can't imagine. And like I said in an email to the rest of the board, I think for the first time, that light at the end of the tunnel is not another train coming at them. So people have asked, yeah, that was supposed to be funny. People have asked about the CCNRs. Have we forgot about those? No, we have not. But we've been trying to get this building renovation on track and going forward. The CCNRs, early fall, we're going to be getting back into that when more and more people are back. And by the way, as I understand, this is the first time this is being recorded today? No, it's been recorded. It's been recorded, but now people will be able to get on channel 16 once we figure out the audio, and they'll be able to see this no matter where they are, if they're in Tennessee, Michigan, California, wherever. So they're going to be able to see this for the first time. This is a blue ticket. It's a nice ticket. This blue ticket means on the 10th of August between 6 and 8 p.m., I can come to the social hall, turn in this ticket, and give ice cream. This is we got everything, sugar and everything else in it ticket. They got a different color ticket if you need one that doesn't have sugar in it. They're on sale, $3 a ticket. Drew is taking those right now, so please, we had a pretty good turnout the first time, but hey, it's hot. You can't beat it, $3, and boy, they let us go back for 2 or 3 times, so. I'm gonna go back over here now, and probably everybody's going, yeah, sit down, stupid. Last but not least, there is a change in the, but I just want to be a little bit closer, especially to the people at home. Back here, I look over there, and not that I need to be any bigger, but that's just the way it is. There is going to be a change to our agenda. The very last thing about the bocce courts fans, it's going to be sent to the new sports. Oh, that's good. I didn't know you could do that. See, I wouldn't have got up. You know the good part about it, they cut the ball part off. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right. We are not going to discuss the bocce court fans. It's going to be sent to the Sports and Fitness Committee, which meets on 1 August at 2:30 in the large kitchen room. This is the way we should do things. So. And then I sent another email that said we wouldn't. Anyway, that's been a change to the agenda. I was told by the CAN that I can do that. They got out of order. I understand. Okay, moving on. Unfinished business. General charter for committees. I will entertain a motion to pass the charter.
I'll second the motion.
Well,
No, I'll make the motion
I'm sorry.
to accept it. Sorry.
yeah, she makes a motion and you second it. Discussion on anything that needs to be talked about, or did anybody sign up to talk about the charter? Nobody. Nothing? I think we beat it enough. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Next thing, Finance Committee 2023 budget update. Do you want to go ahead with that?
Actually, the finance
Tim
committee.
Costello is the one giving the presentation.
Okay, go ahead.
You go, Tim.
Understand?
Good afternoon, and this is our mid-year update. It's not going to be as extensive as our annual review, so it's a little abbreviated. Okay. So the Finance Committee now is currently made up of 5 members. That's myself, Milton Conley, who's the vice chair, Paul Kelly, Todd Peschlein, who's secretary, and Connie Ray. So that was changed from from 6 members down to 5. And of course then our treasurer, Diane Stanley, is also the liaison for the Finance Committee. Responsibilities, I only listed, primarily it's monitoring the balance sheet and operating report and the 2023 budget, which we'll start working on next month. Okay, next slide, income and expenses. The 2023, budget was actually projected to have a mid-year net income of negative $93.91, but we ended June with $72,702, which was pretty good. If you notice, for the net income there, we have a negative in March, and primarily that was due to the fact that, again, some timing, that we had trail maintenance of $19,735, and then also there was tree management of also $19,775 at that time that hit. But since then, for instance, like in June, for either of those items, the amount has been 0. So it's really, again, a case of, when the work was done, it happened to be in March, and therefore that caused a negative net income. But since you can see the little faint green line there going up, our net income year to date has been going up. So that's a positive. Next slide. The budget. We're approximately $73,000 under budget. Some of the major factors contributing to this was we earned $18,620 in interest. When we drafted the budget last year, we were earning 0.1%. So therefore, we budgeted 0 for interest. Since then, rates has risen substantially. We actually have CDs for 2.81%, 2.85%, 3.69%, and we actually have one CD for 4%. So we're actually earning a lot more interest than we could have last year. That's made a major difference. And basic plant control, so far we're $11,774 under budget. And when we made the budget last year, we were expecting a major increase in insurance rates. Our broker told us to expect it. I used to be an insurance regulator, and I used to be reading trade periodicals, and everyone was saying, oh yeah, the rates are going to go up, go up, go up. So we budgeted $56,000 for insurance. Well, it looks like at this point, our insurance cost is only going to be $43,000, which is a pretty big difference. And it's a good thing. I'm not saying there's anything bad about it. Payroll, we're also under budget, and on the negative side, lakes, ponds, and waterways, we're $17,303 over budget. Okay. I don't know how you can make that slide fit onto the screen, but the bottom line is for the total for restricted funds and reserves, we're up a small bit mid-year. As Diane was explaining, we had a contingency fund. The CPAs said, well, really, what you should use for contingencies are retained earnings. So therefore, and then they were saying that it should be approximately 10 to 15% of the 2023 operating budget. So people probably don't remember, but at a previous meeting, it was selected that we would use 12.5%. And that's what that amount you see down was moved from contingency funds down to retained earnings. And then again, as Diane mentioned, we're going to transfer those monies out of the what's remaining in the contingency fund of $121,244. We will put that into the which we'll call it?
Return earnings.
No. We're going to move that, but we're going to close out that contingency fund since it's really, again, the retained earnings really is supposed to operate as a contingency fund, according to our accountants. But,
Tim, can we just be clear that when we move funds, Tim,
yes,
when we say removing funds, we're actually just creating a journal entry. The funds do not move themselves. The cash is the cash.
yes,
But it's just a journal entry on a balance sheet, and it's moving from a liability to a liability account.
Yes.
But when we move to retained earnings, we move from liability to equity.
yes.
Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And next slide, which is reserves. Okay, the reserve study that was done in 2022 only had $230,549 allocated for phase 4 roads, and that was based on the assumption that we would only need microsurfacing. Central testing laboratory reviewed the roads, determined we would need what's called a mill and fill, which is more extensive and also more expensive. And because of that, the Finance Committee did a spreadsheet to determine the effect of if the cost of the roads was $400,000 over that, $500,000 over that, or $600,000 over that. We felt that $500,000 might be the most likely. So, using that, assuming that the phase 4 roads would cost us basically like $730,000, the reserve contribution for 2024 would need to be increased by $23,944, or going forward, each home would have to contribute an additional $2 per month towards reserves. Again, this might work out better than it seems, because when we did the spreadsheet, we made the assumption that we're only going to earn interest of 0.9%, which is what the reserve advisors had used in their doing their calculations. So we left that alone. Although I think we can feel pretty safe that we will probably, going into the future, probably earn more than 0.9% on our money in interest. And as I said in the next point, given the impact of roads on reserves, the Finance Committee strongly recommends getting a new estimate from Central Testing Laboratory on a projected road cost. We don't want to have to suddenly have these future roads projects suddenly come upon us and wind up having to be a mill and fill as opposed to microsurfacing. Because right now, those other road projects, if the assumption is that it will be microsurfacing. If it turns out that they would need to be a mill and fill, that would probably be substantially more expensive. So that's the reason why we'd like to get a new study done on those roads, just to be on the safe side. And also, the Finance Committee recommends considering an on-site reserve study in 2024, depending on, again, our construction plans. And lastly, yes, overall we're in good shape. I wasn't looking at other funds, but just in terms of capital improvement, non-committed funds, assuming we do roll the remaining contingency fund into uncommitted funds, there's no spending plans at this time for that $1.2 million. And again, I think we're in this position because, again, I mentioned this budget balance philosophy. We did try to balance the budget, and things have worked out better than we expected. And the board still has $467,000 in addition to that in cable savings, which there'll have to be decisions as far as what to do with that money in the future. I mean, we have no recommendations one way or the other for that right now. That's something the board will should consider what they want to do. And lastly, I just want to thank Josh, Matt Baker, Geraldine for their assistance to the Finance Committee. And I also want to thank Terry Gedman, always shows up at every meeting to give us input, any help she can give. Chris very often shows up to these meetings, and we appreciate your input. or just to see what we're doing, so we know what we're doing. And likewise, Dave Leakley also very often shows up to the meetings. And so we appreciate their support, and that's basically it. I don't know what else to tell you, but overall, right now we're in pretty good shape. We have a positive net income. Again, the big thing is to see, my concern again is the roads. And when we finally get those bids in for the phase 4 work, we'll have a better idea of where we are financially. But overall, we're in pretty good shape. I don't know what else to tell you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're very glad that we've got a very solid financial committee. They do a great job.
Tim, I think somebody might have a few questions. Perhaps not specifically to you, Tim, but I've lived here long enough to know that that was a great report you just gave. And there's gonna be some residents out there that just saw one little snippet, and that was $2 per house. And I want to clearly make clear to everybody here and to the folks at home watching on 17 that at this point in time, and board, please correct me if I'm wrong, there is absolutely no talk right now of raising HOA fees $2 a house or anything. You know, that's not even on the radar. I do personally believe that very small increments through time help fight against inflation.
Yeah.
And I don't really believe it's fiscally responsible to not have any increase for like 10 years and then just get hit in the side of the head. But we're not raising HOA fees, folks, so just strike that one sentence that you saw there.
I just, again, we're seeing like what would be the effect.
Right.
And then, again, like, you could actually transfer money from some other account to help pay for the overreach.
Sure.
But, as we were making the assumption, just like, that we were gonna fund it simply from the reserves and how to get the reserves back up to where they should be.
No, that was a great report, Tim, and I appreciate it. And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there were like 17 of the worst areas around Legacy, and then we had that fixed. We had those fixed separately, or what's that?
The IMAs.
Yeah, the IMAs. And so that would clear the way to have a better understanding of what way we are to proceed, whether it's microsurfacing or the mill and fill. And so that hasn't been determined yet, so you're just being ahead of, you're being proactive, and I appreciate that.
I think I'm taking a more conservative approach, making the assumption that.
I just don't want to scare people, or, I know what happens at these board meetings, 2 days later, I go to the pool and I hear everybody at the pool talking about, oh my God, they're gonna raise HOA fees $2 a house. So, I'm just trying to avert that.
No, again.
And you corrected them until it was actually $5 a house?
I think that was a suggestion.
No, I'm just kidding. But you're absolutely correct. I know that years ago we thought it was a wonderful thing and we didn't raise the fees forever, and it's something that we should have done. Yeah. By the way, speaking of which, once again, thank you very much. Was there any other questions?
I just want to comment real quick on the reserve study. I want to thank the finance committee for looking into that, because the reserve study is very complicated. There's, it takes into consideration 91 different items throughout this community. And if we had a crystal ball, we'd be great, all right? But we don't have a crystal ball. So there's, I believe, 15 line items that affect roads in this community in that reserve study. So depending on what the decision is to how we fix those roads, it could have a bigger impact on the reserve. And there was a lot of concern, I had concern as well, when we were considering that it was all 15 items were going to be affected by that.
Yeah.
But when we pull it back and we say, well, wait a minute, not all 15 items are going to have that impact, it has a much different answer. So we will be waiting for the information to come. We'll have to make some decisions, but what I think the finance committee is trying to do is quell some concerns. Not to say that we have a crystal ball, but there is good news from that standpoint, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Tim.
Okay.
Do we have any update at all from Central Testing? I know we've asked them to come out and check the roads. Have they given us a?
No, it's gonna be a while. They had to redo basically the whole phase 4 project, site study, all of it.
So they haven't given us a time frame at all?
A couple months is basically what they've been telling me.
For a couple of months?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's based on their workload, you know, it's like first in, you know,
Understand. Okay.
yeah.
Was there one other thing that you want to add, Tim?
The cable savings, I put that down there, I left out, I'm sorry, I left the zero off the last slide was in good shape. I left, it says 46700. It actually should have another zero after that, so it's $467,000. I'm sorry about that. That was an error on my part, and even after I looked at it again, I just didn't catch it.
Okay.
So.
Good. Next thing would be legacy financial guideline updates. You want to do that, or?
So I want to do the proposal now to move the funds because the actual accounting guidelines, or maybe we do it after, and do not define contingency fund any longer, they define retained earnings. So I don't know if you want to do the motion before or after.
Either way, it makes a
Okay.
difference.
So I'd like to make a motion to move the balance of the contingency fund to the uncommitted projects fund.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Questions? All those in favor of the motion, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Continue.
And those account numbers are in my treasurer's report, so you can get that. The accounting guidelines have been presented by the finance committee and the board. Should we move to approve the accounting guidelines and then open it for discussion, or how do you want to deal with that?
Yeah, start with the motion to approve it, and then you guys can go through and answer any questions you have or discuss it.
Motion to approve the accounting guidelines and procedures.
I'll second the motion. Okay, discussion. Anybody got anything?
I have several questions.
Okay, we'll start with you then. Just work around the table.
So we're changing the word guidelines to policies, and I'm not quite sure that that's something that should be done.
What's your concern with that? Just,
Policy seems more formal than guidelines.
well, yeah, I think these basically are policies because, you know, if you look at it, anything that's listed in there is something that we have to follow as an association. They're basically like one of your governing documents.
Okay, so the change in terminology is just a change in terminology.
Yeah, they're gonna have the same authority that they've had in the past.
Under cash flow, bill paying, and account signature authority, we give the treasurer approval to do all prior period adjustments. What is up? Page 2. Letter G.
Oh, yeah.
Prior period adjustments should be avoided whenever possible. The treasurer must approve in writing all prior period adjustments. I think we need to add upon approval by the board.
So I'll give you a little rundown of what a prior period adjustment is. So,
I know what it is.
okay, but having that go to all the way to the board would be a little bit, I think, cumbersome. So like, if for example, if a utility bill didn't get paid in the current month, and we, like, let's say this month, the utility bill didn't get paid in June, but it actually gets paid and then they put it in June, you want the board to have to approve that it gets put into that
So
month?
perhaps we could put a dollar limit on.
So there's a difference between prior period adjustment and a prior year adjustment. Prior period adjustment is just a timing of when it got processed. And the expense is already within the budget or the dollar amounts that we've approved from that standpoint. So the only reason that we're bringing this up is that it messes up our financial statements when the accounting firm, or the management team makes prior period adjustments and we don't see it. Because if they look an item back into January, we haven't looked at January. We're looking year to date, but now we're looking at June. So what we would like to do is make sure that we're aware of those prior period adjustments, so I can bring them up and say, hey, we made a couple of adjustments this period impacting the month of January, but it's impacting our year to date, but people look at the current month, they don't go back and look at January. So this isn't a prior year adjustment where we're crossing years. This is just, in the past, they would make adjustments back or forward to a different month. And what we're saying is, we'd like to know what those adjustments are.
Yeah, and also, right now, there's no restriction on that or
Yeah.
really a rule.
Just-
Our account manager can just make that change and then say, oh yeah, by the way, I put this in the previous month because that's when it was actually.
So this actually brings more clarity to the board because prior period adjustments will come to me. I will highlight them in my treasurer's report. Prior year adjustments is a whole different story.
On page 3, investment objectives, letter E, prior to maturity of the investments, the finance committee was replaced with the treasurer. Why did that occur?
So, like, let's say we have a CDOL, when that expires, basically, it's not a change in investment strategy, it's just more of that person making the go-ahead to go ahead and change or renew.
Or renew.
Yeah, the existing investment. There's timing there, especially because we've been doing some of them as short terms. If you have a 2-month, CD, or you don't necessarily always have the time to meet and discuss it every single time it renews. Or like in this case, we had one that was coming up, we didn't have time to have the finance committee meet, so Diane recommended that we don't renew it because we're gonna go look at something different. And so that decision needs to be made a little bit quicker than constantly having to have meetings to review that.
And is that something different, the comment that came from Tom Brown?
I don't know.
Totally different than what he was bringing up.
On page 4, reporting has been totally eliminated. There's nothing under reporting, everything's been crossed out.
It's on the investment policy or in the investments?
Page 4,
Yeah.
this part, it's all been crossed out.
There's no reporting indicated on how often the financials will be reported.
I don't think
that's what I mean. This is correct me if I'm wrong, Barb, but an investment report has not been done in the past, even though it was stated in here. All of our investments are on our balance sheet, so they need to do a separate report. Apparently hasn't been done in the
Can I
past.
say that then, that all the investments are listed on the financial report?
We could do that.
It just looks like we eliminated all reporting of that.
Yeah, and apparently we haven't done this reporting in the past, so again, I don't know all the reasons why, but our balance sheet does clearly state all of our investments.
Yeah, your management contract does say that all the financials will be prepared and sent to the board by the 15th of every month, and part of your financials is all of your different investment accounts as well.
Great. Under spending authority, same page, no HOA funds will be used intentionally to subsidize an event unless directed to do so. That's been totally removed. Can somebody explain that to me?
Because you've been doing that for a while. You have a $10,000 a year entertainment budget, and even though we sell tickets to help offset the cost of those, majority of events that we put on are not cash flow positive. So the HOA funds have been, subsidizing entertainment events for a while. I mean, you of course could say we're no longer gonna do that, but you might lose a few entertainment nights a year.
Let's go back to that just for a second. I can understand why that's in there. Because, the HOA says, spend that $10,000, but now I think what you're saying is it's taken out, so now we just go crazy.
Well, you still have a budget you have to go apply to. We can't just do whatever we want. And I mean, we don't even usually spend that full amount. It's just there, that statement says that we can't do what we've been doing, so it really does need to be moved.
Yeah, but I did see what you were saying, exactly.
On page 9, under expenditure request process, now called event expenditures, everything has been eliminated, and there's an event reconciliation form. I want to know how this form is generated. Is it resident driven? Is it board driven? Is it CAM driven? What's the timeline? We crossed out the 2 weeks of the event. Haven't seen a copy of the form.
So we were actually we're talking about just eliminating this completely because nobody's paid attention to this for forever. But basically, every time we do an event, we have ticket sales. Those ticket sales generate cash. We keep track of how many tickets are sold. We keep track of the receipts for each of those events. And then we turn around and make a deposit that is included, put back into that entertainment fund, and it offsets the cost. So the reconciliation form is there should you want to verify that we're not misappropriating the funds. But it's there. We've never generated reports and sent it to anybody. It's just, we keep record of it essentially, so that if anybody were to say, hey, Josh, what are you doing with all the cash that comes in? Are you know, going to buy beer with it? I can say, no, here it is.
I just have to point out, if I may, on that same issue, because that was one of the ones that I had a question on. If you eliminate number 11, the only thing that you have under it is that one sentence. There might need to be a little bit more expanded on that particular
At least put a timeline on it. I mean, there's no timeline at all. And I'm not.
No, I get it. It's just funny that you have a whole policy there that nobody paid attention to, and the moment you change it, it's like, oh, we gotta look at this. So, however you want to do it, if you would like me to have a report every month that's sent to you saying, here's the events we had, here's how much we spent, here's how much we made, here's how much was put into the accounts, we can definitely do that.
The only reason I'm questioning it is because the SCRs came up when we did committee charters,
Mhm.
and now we're crossing them out. I mean, we're contradicting ourselves in the charters versus the financial.
No, that's crossed out because they're already addressed in the charter. So if you have something addressed in two different documents, it's redundant, but it also creates an environment where one gets changed and the other one didn't. And so we really should probably just have it addressed in one place.
So the budget also controls the situation. If you have a spending budget amount for those events and you stay within it, we should be okay. And so that's why we just left the one line item on there.
Yeah, and again, the finance committee asked, should we have it even in there? You could eliminate it if you wanted to. Because, we can only spend what's on the budget. You see the financial reports every month, what was spent, what was deposited. It's up to you guys how you want us to handle it.
Okay, my next concern is under the gift policy. It says, the last sentence, all gifts must be considered for approval by the LLPOA Board of Directors, and acceptance must be consistent with the provision of the gift policy. Nowhere is the gift policy explained. We've crossed out everything at the bottom of the page listing what's considered a gift.
So anything that's posted on the website, and we can put it in here too, but again, if you have a policy that's separate of this, it's kind of, you put it in two places, you gotta change both of them. So that if you want it listed in here, we can do that, but when you submit a gift form on the website, it tells you what all the rules are for that particular gift and what qualifies as something that would be required to be approved by the board and what doesn't.
So my concern here is that we've got things in two different places, and you're telling me that if it's in both places, we have to change it in both places. Most residents here don't know that they have to look into two different places for certain issues, so.
Well, no, this just says that it has to comply with the gift form, and if you list the same things that are on the gift form as what's current here, then when you change the gift form, you have to change this, which can be done, that's fine.
I think that we need to include in the financial guidelines what the gift policy is, because I don't think most people will look at the gift form.
Well, they have to submit the gift.
I'm not talking about people I'm talking about other residents that just wanna know what's going on.
Okay, yeah, we can incorporate the same thing in both places. That's
Well,
fine.
I think, I disagree. The policy is what needs to be in this document, not how to fill out the form.
Okay.
The policy is there, it's very clear here. If they get the form, this information's on the form, or if they want a form, the CAM office will tell them and walk them through it. I don't think it needs to be in both places, personally.
On page 10, under reimbursements, Reimbursement expenses must be kept for minimum and used when practical and necessary. Reimbursement expenditures must be approved in writing by who? Is that by you? Right here, first sentence in this.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yes.
Then we need to put in by the CAM.
Or all reimbursements should be carried out by the CAM in accordance with this policy.
Okay.
So, I mean, we can change a line there that says approved by the CAM, but, yeah, right? Does that make sense to you
Those
guys?
are just my concerns, that's all.
No, I understand, yeah, but further explains, it explains it very well.
Approved in writing by the CAM, by the board president, or approved in writing by the CAM within their spending authority? I mean, I don't know how you wanna do
The
that.
cover took a piece about, the credit card statement should be signed by the treasurer. That what used to be in there, to where it's not each individual charge made by the CAM on the credit card, it's the overall monthly bill that's signed by the treasurer.
So we have it signed by the president. Oh, did it say previously
It
that?
used to say treasurer, when I was treasurer, it still does say treasurer, but, I had an argument with somebody and they won, and the president signed it.
Yeah, because I think what might have been the issue with that is the treasurer's not supposed to have any spending authority.
Zero spending authority.
So that's why they probably said the president.
But would it still suffice if the president signed the statement?
Yeah.
That
That's-
would be the same idea.
So all reimbursement expenditures must be approved by, we could say the CAM and the president, that way it goes to two people.
Except sometimes it's the vice president because the president's not here, so the way I
So
say
the
it,
board-
reimbursement expenditures must be pre-approved in writing. And I think we understand who can do that, so do we need to
Because
add
of the
anything
spending
else?
authority.
Yeah. That's, yeah, whatever,
The spending authority defines who can approve
yeah.
spending. So if we want to redefine it here, that, you're specifically saying this person has that spending authority to do that, that's okay too, but you've already defined spending authority.
Sure. It's just basically saying it has to be pre-approved.
Right.
Okay.
What,
So you guys wanna leave it? You're all okay with that?
I am.
I'm good with doing that.
The credit card statement is not a reimbursement, it's basically a bill.
No, I think we went down too fast with that
Yes,
last
yeah.
thing. Barb was talking about the credit card, we can address that, but it's the reimbursements, do you wanna just leave that and then we can talk about the credit card? Okay. So do we wanna put something in here specific to the board president or whatever? No? Okay. There it is.
Barb, you had some issues?
Not issues, just clarification.
Okay, come on, good job.
Page 5, general budget spending. I was a little confused by the CAM, can we approve up to $5,000 are signed for, and the president up to $5,000. That,
The president's always had the 5,000, but I know when we were talking even in the various meetings that because of inflation, we were looking at changing the CAM's level up to 5,000 to be more in line to where,
There was also a conflict, with your contract.
With Lehman contract,
The Lehman
and his
contract
ability to
gives you
spend.
5,000, your financial guidelines do 5 as well. So, in some cases, depending on who the president is, you might trust me more.
so it can be either or, the CAM or the president. I don't know, if one of them ever decide up to 5,000. And then everything over 5,000 is the board of directors. That's
Yeah, it is kind of weird that they both have the same spending
Yeah,
authority.
that's what
If you want to discuss increasing the president's authority, that's up to you guys.
maybe 8,000.
well, I had a question that I talked to, finance committee the other day, and I know we had also looked at increasing that, a little bit more. So we increased the CAM by 2,000, so we just said it's 7,000, 7,500 or something, I don't know, I just think it should be
So my thought on this is I would just leave it, because anything that's new addition, that's over $5,000, probably should be discussed by you guys anyways.
It's gotta go to the
And
board.
if something that's, like, for example, a tree invoice, it gives the president the authority to sign higher than $5,000 because you guys have all approved the project anyways.
Right.
So I don't think that really needs to be adjusted, but.
And we also have an emergency situation when that's in there, so we're good to go on that. So I think we're okay with 5,000, and we don't really have very many invoices
No,
currently
it's usually
on.
just big projects that you approve, yeah.
All right, yeah. Okay, I'm good.
And then I have on that same paragraph, improvements to the existing property. Okay, that's what you can sign for. But it seems to me that down below where it says spending on new and expanded amenities must be greater than $1,000 to be approved by the board. Let me see what I'm talking about here. I read that a while ago.
In the center.
It was confusing to me that improvements to the existing property and amenities, if it's an improvement, wouldn't it be a new or expanded amenity? Is that the same thing?
An improvement to an amenity.
We're all spending
Yeah.
on
But I think we're looking at the difference between an existing amenity versus a new amenity, maybe? Yeah.
but improvements to an existing,
You can say right now that the tennis courts are being improved, because the asphalt is being replaced, or painted, sorry, painted.
oh, here it is, down below where it says spending on new and expanded amenities. All associations spending in excess of $1,000 for new or expanded amenities.
So I think it's getting
So
at something new.
Yeah, so the $5,000 is in place to basically for, like if we were to do something that, almost like a maintenance thing, you're not buying anything necessarily new, but the $1,000 is if we're adding something new, like, I don't know.
Another horseshoe court.
Exactly, something that's an expanded, but if you're doing maintenance or just replacement costs, we have this spending authority to do that. So it just prevents us from being able to go out and install something new without the board approving it. It's hard to delineate which one is which.
Yeah, I still have a problem with it because replacement and improvements to the existing property and amenities seems to be the same thing as $1,000 limit for expanded amenities.
Well,
New.
or expanded?
New or
Expanded means additional,
Yeah, 'cause
not
once-
improvements.
Yeah, because up
Yeah.
above it says existing.
Yeah, so it's,
I concede.
Okay.
Everybody else understands it but me.
No.
That's not how it's in any of it, so.
Oh, no, it's just a question, that's just clarification. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had other?
No, that's it.
That's it?
That's it. Looks good. Now we just need to follow it.
I'm okay too.
I'm good.
Just a couple of questions.
Sure.
So, when it comes to the gift thing,
Forward,
that is back on page,
well,
I think so, nine.
9, I believe.
nine, yeah, nine.
So, is this saying individual gifts or, like a club gift or whatever? Because,
any item that gets gifted to the association, it falls under that policy.
so I know when we were discussing the fountains a while back,
Yeah.
I thought one of the rules was that any gift had to cover like 50% of the total cost or whatever.
Yeah, we did.
So I don't see that in here.
So that's on the gift e-form that is filled out. So they're basically, residents or clubs will make a request that says, hey, here's what we want to give to the association. It lays out all the stuff on that form, and that they have to make sure they follow it. So if it's over $1,000, it has to be approved by the board.
Right. Okay, great.
Yeah.
One other question I had was that on page 3 at the very bottom, under investment objectives, letter E, it's crossed out finance committee and it changed to treasurer, and I know we spoke about this briefly, and I'm just wondering, every financial thing I've ever seen in any entity always had like a checks and balances. And no disrespect to you, Diane, but should we have something like the common sense compromise, the treasurer and perhaps the chairperson of the finance committee, so there's two people looking at it, so not one person has any power?
So I love that. Actually, anytime I've had any conversation or any, ideas about making an investment because something has been, maturing and that, I've always reached out to the finance committee, letting them know what my concern is and asking for input on that because I didn't want to wait till another meeting, to take advantage of an opportunity. So we have been operating in that environment, because I do like the checks and balances and also having a different thought process potentially. So I have no problem with, adding that, but.
Right, I don't think you have to wait for another finance committee, because
Right,
sometimes
no,
time
and we
is of the
don't, and we
essence, but
don't,
I
and
know
we
you're
don't.
close to
Yep.
certain people on, I'm sure you work on a daily basis with some of these people. Would it be wise and not an encumbrance to have another person just sign off on that? Just so there's two people instead of one? And I'm just thinking more to the future, there's no disrespect to you, but
Yeah.
we could end up 5 years from now
Right,
with an
having a
unscrupulous,
environment. Right.
treasurer.
There's no signing off. The treasurer works directly with Leland's accounting team on these, because they actually control all the paperwork. And so it's good to have a check and balance on Leland when a CR expires. And in the past, sometimes it automatically renewed, and maybe that wasn't what we wanted to happen. So the responsibility is a check and balance with Leland's accounting team as well, okay? So adding another layer and bringing in the chairman or the vice chairman, I'm not opposed to that. That's how I operate to begin with.
It might make
So-
you feel more comfortable, so.
That's how I operate. Todd, do you have something to say about that? Okay.
Great, thank you, that's a good idea.
And actually, I worked with Josh on that as well, so I
Yeah,
like
let's
that.
have that, that's clean, that way there's two eyeballs.
So anything where it says just treasurer, maybe
Treasurer and the CAM.
That's all.
But there is really no sign off on this. It's just there's discussions that we have, to make sure that we're doing the best thing. Okay,
Good point. Anything else?
thank you.
Anything else before we, I think we will go to a vote with changes as explained? Nothing else? Okay.
Does
well,
that have to be posted for 14 days?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yeah, well, you
That's
basically,
particular for me, because,
we're basically posting these, and then if there's concerns with the community, we can address them the next time we actually ratify the.
So we don't have to do well, we got.
You have to make a motion to approve
Yeah.
as amended, which is that one amendment, right?
Right.
And then we'll post that with the amendment to the website, 14 days, next meeting, we finalize it.
And the posting to the website will be with the changes and the crossouts, or will it be without the track changes?
Will be the
I can do both.
Be new and improved or whatever.
I think we need to do the track changes so everybody can see what was changed.
Yeah, that was pointed out to me by Frank, and I uploaded them since, I just thought sometimes they're hard to read, so I try to make it easy, so, my fault.
Okay, so, all those in favor of the amendment with approved changes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed, okay? Get back to it, okay. Second quarter invasive report and proposal of removal. Josh? Josh, you wanna go ahead and discuss this one?
Sure, so we did a walk with Yellowstone, when I say we, it was, myself, Pat Summers, and Dave Hensley, the supervisor, and went through some of the, reports that ENC's been putting together over the last couple months. They put together the proposal for the work, and that's what you're reviewing today.
Do we have anybody sign up to talk about this?
Nobody.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we proceed with the second quarter report and approve the proposal from Yellowstone.
I'll second.
Any discussion otherwise?
Yes,
Okay.
this is not in any way, shape, or form meant to criticize the ENC because I think they do a wonderful job. But I think we're killing a lot of trees here, printing all these pictures on each of the trails. I think we all know what these things look like. I think that by Yellowstone spelling out which plants are going to be treated on which of the trails, we should eliminate the pictures to cut down on all of this paper. My only comment.
I can just not print it for you. I can just print the proposal.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, there's what, 12 pages of this in color, it's killing trees.
And I think last meeting we had like 40 pages.
Yeah, so we all know what these plants look like.
We want to make sure you understand what is being done. That's the idea, but whatever, I'll tell them that don't put any pictures. But
It's just a suggestion, I'm just making.
Well, I'm gonna tell you honestly, Pat, you're out there? Yeah. Pat has taken me out, and I love biology, but I got a D in it every time I took it. It lasts about 2 seconds. She says, "Oh, that's an invasive." I go, "Oh, yeah, I see what you're talking about." And if you ask me the next day to show you where the invasives are, I can't do it. But I agree with what you're saying. I think the proposal's good enough, unless somebody else on the board wants, thinks we need.
I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
But that's why I bring my tablet, so I don't even have to bring it.
Gotcha.
So I'll work with Yellowstone on how they prepare their reports. Because the ENC doesn't prepare this is Yellowstone.
I mean, even if they wanna put all the pictures on one page,
Yeah.
just so that we know what they look like, but we don't have to put the same picture of camphor on every single trail that they're gonna treat, that just seems
Right.
waste.
I
like that idea because- Yeah.
Might cost less if we're not paying them to take all these pictures.
Whatever. It's really not a big deal, guys. Like, we can modify the
We
report.
have a motion on the floor, it's been seconded, any other discussion? And thank you very much, Mary Kay, that was a good point. Okay, all those in favor of the proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And Josh, it's account 6685.
Oh, did you catch that, 6685?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe they could add that, well, we add that. Next, we have a new ad hoc committee that we want to maybe look at. Do we have anybody signed up to discuss this one or ask questions? Barb, you want to start this discussion?
Okay, I put together a draft of an ad hoc committee structure and proposed several things. I didn't do this alone. I had some help from some friends that came over and we discussed what it is we want to, we think would be accomplished. So we're looking at an ad hoc committee for a committee named Interior Design and Decorating Committee. So it's IDDC. It'll consist of a maximum of 9 members and 3 alternates. All potential committee members must submit a volunteer form. The first meeting, a chair, vice chair, secretary will be elected, and the duties will follow the standing committee duties for officers. They'll meet monthly or as often as necessary, will follow requirements of standing committees in terms of noticing meetings, and all meetings will be open to legacy residents, which I hope will happen. I know building committee did a fantastic job without much input, but we need your input on this. The purpose of the committee is to provide well thought out, researched, and vetted recommendations for internal finishings, furnishings, and layouts for the common buildings that make up the legacy complex. These recommendations will include but are not limited to color schemes, flooring, wall and window decorations, and furnishings. The IDDC will advise and assist the Board of Directors by developing plans for the use and flow of each area assigned by the board in terms of design and decorating in order to assure comfort and access for residents using legacy common facilities. So our tasks are to look at each of the individual rooms, aerobic room and gym, bathrooms, billiard room, card room, craft room, flooring, kitchen, library, lobby, office, and maintenance area, multi-purpose rooms, storage spaces, and wall decorations, as well as looking at furnishings, paint colors, and flooring. And those three will actually be first to look at because that impacts what our builder is going to be doing. Each of the project area team will have a team. Each of those areas will have a team, and they'll work. What we want to do is have a team leader for each one who will work to include as many residents and users of the project areas as possible. A number of means will be used, including but not limited to using suggestion boxes in each project area and holding information gathering meetings in the project areas for input by users. When I say project area, I mean like the library, or like the social hall, or like the gym. But each team will be responsible to analyze current equipment and furnishings, identify equipment and or furnishings needing replacement due to age or condition, investigate what additional equipment and or furnishings are needed, assure there is a space in the redesigned areas to accommodate equipment and furnishings, develop costs for repair, replacement, or additional items for the specific area, and prepare plans for the assigned area and present recommendation to the full committee. The IDDC will meet monthly in an open and noticed meeting. Members will communicate electronically when needed. Once all individual project plan recommendations have been approved by the committee, the chair will prepare and submit a report of the committee recommendations to the Board of Directors. The board will have the final review and approval of all recommendation plans developed by the IDDC. The IDDC will prepare interim reports to the community and the board when requested, and will work with the Communication Ad Hoc Committee to disseminate information and reports to the residents of Legacy after board approval. For the budget, the IDDC will submit recommendations to the board with explanation as to the necessity as well as expected costs after performing diligent research. The board, if deemed necessary, will submit the information to the Finance Committee for cost consideration in conjunction with the committee's annual review of general reserve. And the board, again, the board will have the final review and approval of all recommendation and plans developed by this committee. I've sent out a number of revisions for this to the board and gotten their input, which I've included and changed each time. But if anything is too much, too little, too whatever, the less work we have, the better, of course, but we do want it to be really community-led. That's it.
Barb, if I could ask a question. So I'm assuming that some of these bleed over to other committees. For instance, the Sports and Fitness Committee would have huge input into, say, fitness equipment and the viability of what we have now and what we need based on need. And so I'm assuming here there's going to be a meshing of work between different committees on some aspects.
Absolutely, absolutely.
For instance, like, probably people don't know, I want to give kudos to Josh. About 2 Sundays ago, I got a call early in the morning from a resident saying that the fitness room had a broken window. So I came down here early Sunday morning and discovered that was indeed correct. And at first I thought maybe it was a weed whacker like the Yellowstone, but there was no grass around there. It was clearly evident when I went in that one of the arms of one of the machines actually went through the window and broke the window. So, how that's never happened in the 11 year or the 20 years that we've had, but apparently maybe somebody let go of that arm too quick or just went like this when they walked away from it, but it broke the window.
Yeah.
And I want to commend Josh coming down here early that Sunday morning, and he fixed it temporarily. Josh does a lot above and beyond and comes down here a lot of weekends, so I want to commend him on that. And then, of course, it made me smirk a little bit when people say we don't need any additional room for the fitness room when we have equipment breaking windows, so.
Good point, thank you.
So
Thank you. But
question
that's
I-
one of the things, like with a gym, the placement of the equipment is very important, and we want to work with sports and fitness, and those, anybody else that wants to give input, to get this done.
So that I actually was thinking about the same thing. Should we, under page 2, just where it says each of the project area teams will work to include as many residents and users of the project area as possible, and maybe it should say in conjunction with any related committee and.
That's a good one.
I would just-
Or club.
Or club.
Yes,
Um,
club or committee, yeah.
But just to make sure that they're not doing multiple work, we wanna make sure we're working efficiently as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I know I haven't said, well, I'm sorry, you finished?
You just said thanks to Frank.
Okay. Page 2, under each team will be responsible to, maybe just add so it's perfectly clear, develop costs for repair, replacement, or additional items as directed by the BOD for the specific area. I want to make sure that the committee understands that they're not supposed to go out on their own before they get permission, either through the board or from the CAM. Maybe that's what we should do, from the BOD or the CAM, just to make sure that they understand that.
Okay.
That's all I have.
I just have a quick question. So whenever we're talking about the lobby, offices, and maintenance area, the maintenance area, were you talking about the back maintenance area that's
Yes.
being redone?
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I just think that the offices and the maintenance area should, well, especially the maintenance area, should be turned back to the CAM. Because I just think that how that's set up and everything else is gonna be strictly how the CAM and John feels that it needs to be done. That's my personal opinion, and I think it's their offices, so I really think they should at least have input. I know you'll ask them, but I just feel kind of strongly about those two.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm easy, so I can take charge, or I can let somebody else and just steer them to the right path, either way.
I still think it's important though that the IDDC be involved because there's
Yeah.
color schemes involved, we don't want conflicting stuff. So I think it needs to stay on the list, but I have no problem with adding Josh as somebody
With input
to
from the
consult.
CAM. Okay.
But, yeah, but I'm just thinking, Mary Kay, like the maintenance in the back with the roll-up door and stuff and inside there, I mean, I don't know, I just.
Well, the way I look at it is you guys are gonna have final approval, you're gonna have to live with me if I'm not happy, so we'll figure out a way to make it work.
No, the whole.
I know where you live, I'm sorry, I don't live where you live.
The whole idea and the structure of this is that we get input from the users
Yeah.
and anybody else, maybe an expert in the field that doesn't want to be on a committee or anything like that. We want to have this be a fun project where we all can agree that this is what's going to happen.
I think it's common sense
So
that,
pray for me.
I think it's common sense that, John will be determining how big of a workbench he needs, or how big of a bolt bin he needs, or pegboard for hanging up tools and cabinets that have to be locked because of power tools. That's all under his purview, so.
Absolutely, but what we want to do is have it come through the committee so we can give you a comprehensive report.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
you would be considered a user, both you and John, offices, so they're being directed to solicit the information from the users.
Yeah, that's, again,
So we're-
got no problem with it, it's fine.
Because you're easy.
Yeah,
And I just want to say thanks to Barbara, because she put a lot of hard work into
Yeah,
this,
for
and a
sure.
lot of thought, and she did an excellent job, so thank you. I appreciate it.
everybody's going to be on the
Or are we gonna approve them as amended and then call for volunteers? How do you guys wanna do this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the interior design and decorating ad hoc committee with amendments. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, got two there, to jump in. Any other discussion? Anybody signed, nobody signed up for this, okay?
So, I mean, do we have to make a motion?
You can just tell me to get,
Okay.
he'll tell me to call for volunteers and all that, so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, there we go.
Rick has a comment, I don't know if you can take this comment. Greg, just raise his hand.
Well, wait a second, Greg, did you sign up to speak?
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll talk to you afterwards. Appreciate it. Josh will put out a call for volunteers. Yeah, if we do, then we're gonna have to do for everybody. Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And then we have to appoint her officially as liaison?
We already did.
Or was it?
It wasn't?
Well, no, I just thought because we hadn't officially done this, but, because it wasn't in a minute.
Okay.
It wasn't in a minute, so.
Do we need a motion to appoint her as a liaison? No.
You have to.
I have to appoint you and then we gotta vote on it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I'm gonna appoint you as a
Well, wait a minute.
liaison.
I think Mary Kay should.
No. Mary Kay's got enough. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna appoint you as a liaison. Now, I'll ask.
I'll
the rest of-
switch with you.
Yeah. Is there any discussion? Is there anybody, okay, all those in favor of her being appointed as a liaison? Aye.
Aye.
This says no? She's an
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, the next thing we have is committee appointments. We have a resident volunteer form here from Nancy Schley, who put it in some time ago. Because of the recent change in our committee charter, she can now be on two standing committees. She's already on the TNT. She'd like to be back on the sports and fitness, which she was on for many, many years, and very honestly, that's why we got all the decent equipment over in the gym, which just last night I was talking to a couple of brand new residents, and they love the gym. So, thank you, Nancy. Because the committee has not yet met, we can still appoint without them vetting the person. So, going forward, is there any discussion with Nancy Schley, or should we just appoint her?
Just appointment.
Okay, all those in favor of appointing Nancy Schley to the Sports and Fitness Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nancy?
Okay.
Meeting is on Tuesday at 2:30 PM in the large kitchen room.
Can I ask who else is on that committee?
You could, Bill Stoltenberg is, and I think two other people, which I don't have at the tip of my tongue right now.
Is it Don Barry?
Don Barron?
Don Barry?
And then there's, in the shuffleboard group,
John Barron. No, not
Jane.
Jane.
yeah, Jim Call.
Who?
Jane.
Jane.
Jane. Oh,
Right
that's
there.
right, Jane, that's right, my neighbor down the street.
because Barron's in it. It's not Barron.
Okay, next appointment here is for Rod Ross. Because of the change in the charter committees, this is the way it's supposed to work. The committee will ask that they need to, they're looking for more people. I talked with the building committee on Monday at their meeting at 10 o'clock or a little bit before. They have lost a person. They're down from 5 to 4. They're satisfied with a 4. They have not asked for Josh to go out and call for any new members. They want to stick with 4. They think right now that any change going forward would really be not working their benefits, so they're happy with the 4. They're not calling for new people. So Rob, thank you very much for, number one, attending all meetings. Please continue to do so, but we are not going to approve you to be a member of the building committee. Last but not least, we were gonna have bocce court fans, however, we're tabling that and sending it to the Sports and Fitness Committee. It is on their next agenda meeting, as is signs for the shuffleboard courts. So the new Sports and Fitness Committee is gonna be hitting the ground running on Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 PM. That's the 1st of August in the large kitchen room. Next board meetings are August 23rd at 2 p.m. and September 27th at 2 p.m. Hopefully, we're gonna get the first set of schematics back from Powell by Friday, and hopefully next Thursday, so just keep your ears and eyes open at 6:30 p.m. We plan, if everything works, to have a town hall meeting here at 6:30 p.m. next Thursday, which is the 3rd of August. Do we have any other?
Before,
Go ahead.
I would like to, I've already sent this to Josh, but we've lost 2 members of the ad hoc communications committee.
We've lost one. I don't have one resignation.
The other one's leaving the property, and her husband's already sent in his,
Yeah, right.
so I have to have Patty send in an official letter?
Yeah.
Okay, so I still need a call for volunteers for
Okay.
communications.
Well, we do have one volunteer already that's would fill the one spot.
Okay.
So when I think at the next meeting, I'll discuss that with them and then they can decide, you know, that they need to call for volunteers.
Yeah, let's put out a call of volunteers, because if things happen well on the 3rd of August and we can settle with what we see with changes we want to make, there will probably be another special board meeting with just one item, maybe 2 items. We could add people at that point in time to the committee, because the communication ad hoc is gonna start ramping up and be very important.
But we don't need board approval
No,
we
Oh,
don't
that's
need board
right.
approval anymore for
That's
members
right.
to be added.
Yeah,
we approve it out.
just yeah, that's right. What am I saying? I know, I apologize. Any other, announcements? Thank you all very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.